Hey, you guys. So I wanted to come on here and give my commentary regarding the situation going on right now with Terry Crews facing backlash after his statements he made on a segment Thursday on the Today Show. So it should come as no surprise this pathology we have where we think that if we pander and diminish another black person's inequities, this will somehow elevate your social status or gain you notoriety that could potentially benefit you later on. And you guys, at this point, I am sick of this behavior. I am very tired of having to give speeches on how it is we need to stay on code and not devalue another person's experiences. And when we actually look at how other races of people operate, you can see when they are facing some kind of like an issue that affects them on a collective level, they actually are able to band together and unite against a common struggle. Even if they may not get along with each other, they still are able to understand that the state of their people are more important than any kind of like a personal quarrel that they may be going through. And I think, in my opinion, I think that we may be the only people who have this mentality where it seems like that it's every man for himself, where we will do things like we'll diminish another person's claims, throw each other under the bus, and then act confused later when we see that the dominant society doesn't really see you as any different than the next black person. So let me just kind of explain to you what it is I mean. So Terry Crews, he went on the Today Show, and he says, "I can't speak for sexism because I am not a woman, but I can speak on behalf of any racism comments." And then he also went on to say, if I'm not mistaken, that it was never his experience on the show America's Got Talent. And he also doubled down on that response and said that the show is actually the most diverse environment he's been in 29 years of entertainment. So that kind of struck me as a little bit unusual because I'm kind of like, okay, so I guess we're just going to completely overlook the fact that you played a black father on Everybody Hates Chris. So I was kind of thinking about that, and I'm just kind of like, yeah, I don't really believe that, but I mean, okay. So mind you, he states that this diversity claim is because of the surplus of contestants on the show, America's Got Talent. And throughout this interview, Terry Crews further stated that I believe you should listen to women. You should always believe women. So I really think at this point he's just kind of rambling, and it's kind of cringeworthy at this point in the conversation. And regarding the situation with Gabriella Union, he hadn't reached out to her about her experience. And Gabriella Union, she also had a host of tweets where she did not state Terry Crews's name, so it was a little bit subliminal, but it was very apparent who she was referring to. And I'm sorry to laugh, but it was kind of funny if you guys actually did see some of the tweets that she made in regards to Terry Crews's dismissal of her claims about how there's rampant racism that goes on that show. I mean, you can tell, that she was obviously pretty hurt by this, which I can understand because one of the things that I actually do remember is sometime back, I believe that when Terry Crews was going through this issue where he was talking about being sexually assaulted by, I believe it was like some kind of like an executive at one of the television production studios or something like that. I think that there was an issue he was discussing where that executive had sexually tried to assault him, or there was some kind of like an inappropriate contact that this executive had with Terry Crews. And it was something that a lot of people initially were kind of like, well, he's so strong. I don't see how it is that he could have possibly have felt threatened by this, man that was of a lesser stature than he was. But then, later on, Terry Crews had revealed that it was actually Gabrielle Union, and it was other black women that actually believed him and had his back whenever all of this was going down. And so when you really think about all of that, and then you look at this situation of today, for this man to turn around and not have her back in support, I think that that's a little bit suspect and malice, in my opinion. you guys have to understand that agents are not uncommon in our community. And let me just kind of explain to you what I mean by that. When I say agents, I'm talking about people in our community who are informants. And some of you may already be familiar with what it is that I'm talking about. We actually have a bad habit of selling out our people. And this is normally in regards to some kind of like a political movement where our people will sometimes be paid by the larger society, or they'll go under these covert operations in order to try to kind of distort the narrative or distort like an agenda that may be out in order to expose racism whenever it's we know that it's rampant and prevalent, and it's definitely a problem. And you may notice that there are people who will sometimes say and do strange and unusual things that don't typically make sense whenever you have some kind of like a situation going on. And it's because, like I've said, they're definitely agents that are within our community. And I might have to go back to the past for a moment, you guys, just to kind of explain to you a little bit more what I mean. So, what I mean by this is, I'm pretty sure you guys, some of you guys may be familiar with the Black Panther Party. So, let's go back to the past for a moment and talk about the Black Panther Party. So, whenever the Black Panther Party was thriving and it was actually well acclimated for black people to be able to have like a sense of safety while simultaneously having a political slash militaristic group calling out these acts of racism, you oftentimes had black people, people who look like us, people who resemble us and have our appearance. You oftentimes would hear stories about how black people within the Black Panther Party would have been facing some kind of like death, or they may members from the Black Panther Party may have just mysteriously ended up dying. And let me tell you why that happened. It's because we actually had black agents that would infiltrate these organizations in order to make the Black Panther Party very vulnerable at certain points, because these people obviously had knowledge from within to be able to report back to the larger society and tell them things like, well, for example, this member leaves a building or a location at a specific time, so make sure to look out for this person at this time, or what have you. So I say all that to say this. I know I kind of went off on a tangent and I apologize, but when you have people in our community making statements basically diminishing the struggles that another black person faces, like racism, it's very suspicious and it's very weird, but it's also not uncommon, and it certainly is not surprising. Now, I also want to make light of something else. I had made a post on my social media about how it is that I really can't rock with anybody who disrespects or disses black women, because black women are constantly under attack daily, and are black women and definitely need to have black men's support and protection. The role of a black man is to be able to do this willingly and without being told to do so. So when you have Terry Crews sitting here and basically letting a black woman be looked at like she's crazy because you didn't face what she went through, I think that that's very problematic. And it reinforces the divide between black men and black women. It causes that fight that constantly happens with this whole power struggle thing that we have now. Let me just kind of clarify that. I understand that as a people, we don't have any power. I do know that. But what I'm just kind of saying in this instance is, as far as who's right and who's wrong. So, other people from different communities can look at us from a distance, and literally from the outside looking in, they can see that we are so full of dissension that a conflict isn't even enough to make us come together. And you guys, I say this with the utmost concern and serious demeanor whenever I say this, but I think that if some kind of a worldwide apocalyptic destruction was imminent and it only affected black people, it would make me kind of wonder, and it would make me worry, because if there were such an event that were to happen, I think that we would be in serious trouble because it makes me wonder if it's hard for us to be able to unite on certain issues. What would we do if there was some kind of like a cataclysmic event and it threatened to wipe all of us out? And the only way to save ourselves would be to unite. Like, what would we do in that situation? So it is worrisome to think about if something like that did happen. But again, sorry to go off topic. I know I keep going off topic, but trust me, you guys, it's to make a point. But when we look at the situation that happened with Terry Crews, it does speak to the issue that we face as a Black community, which is that we will consistently dismiss each other's struggles, and as long as nothing as sorry, as long as we see potential acceptance from the larger society, we'll continue to engage in this degenerate behavior where we sell each other out, and I really don't like that. So that's just my thoughts on this whole situation. So make sure you guys get in the comments section and let me know your thoughts on the whole, Terry Crews basically saying, well, he didn't experience it. And kind of in a sense, almost all lives matter in the situation by just kind of sweeping it under the rug and just dismissing what it is that other Black people go through. Also, let me know you guys' thoughts on if you think that this was probably like some kind of like a publicity stunt, or do you think that it's definitely some kind of an agenda that is there to try to dismiss or try to make it seem like that this agency that is sponsored by a very powerful channel is not racist as they claim to be, or as Gabriella Union claims it to be, even though we know that it is. So make sure you guys leave your thoughts below in the comments section. And I'm going to still release a video on. I'm still thinking about doing another Black political video. That one, I'm still actually doing the research on it. It will take some time because I want it to be very thorough and accurate. And then I'm also working on my Black capitalism video too. So make sure you guys also look out for that. And again, make sure you guys get in the comment section, like, share, subscribe, and comment on the video. And I will talk to you guys in the next one.